So I remember going in and interviewing with my boss and telling him, I don't want to be a lawyer. Don't think you're going to make me be a lawyer. I'm a good worker. I'm responsible. I'll show up and I'll do a good job, but don't try to convert me. And he's like, I don't think your cousin wants this job.
3, 2, 1, let's go.
Since you joined the How to Grow the Small Law Firm and everything else you've been doing right now, like what do you say? Like if you were to tell, like if a lawyer were to ask you, or a friend or colleague or whatever, what percentage of, like where do you put your percentages of time? Like law work, marketing, administrative, like would you be able to put a percentage wise as to what you're doing now?
I mean, I would say the percentages are still not how ideally I would want them to be.
Okay, so tell me what they are now, and then ideally what you're looking to you're looking to grow into. Go ahead.
So I would say I am still very much, I would say 50% still very law, you know, in the work, or at least reviewing works of my associate and whatnot. I would say another good 25% is administrative and dealing with all the, you know, the stuff going on to run a business, and 25% marketing, you know, and doing other things to help grow the business. I would like the production part of it, the one of, you know, me being involved in the work, to definitely be a lot less, and the marketing and doing things like this and getting out there and the rainmaking to be a little bit more.
Yeah. You know, I think that somehow that's what happened. Like that was my goal. Like, I think like you said, the best thing you can do is bring on an associate, bring on someone who can do the work. That's what they enjoy. They're passionate about it. You can train them to basically be you. They're never going to be you. They're never going to have you know, unless you find someone that has that level of experience. But I knew from the very beginning when I opened up my firm, that's what I wanted. I wanted to for the first at least few months, I had to do the legal work, or I actually had a paralegal that was really doing most of the legal work.
Yeah, but
and then I was
review
you have to review it and go through it. But I was spending probably all my time. How do I market? Administrative stuff at that point was like minimal because you're just very, very small.
Yeah.
You know, but the marketing side, and that's tends to be where I'm at right now, which is mostly doing the marketing, mostly going out, mostly trying to be rainmaker. But then also the chief strategist on cases, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
I have a very good system in place where we have routine meetings where we go through case reviews. We have Friday meetings. We do roundtables where I'm able to be the brain source that if there's any little issues that come up throughout the week, they can ask me, and then it's kind of okay, boom, 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 let's get this done. That's how you're the next step for that particular case. And it tends to work. You know what I mean? It tends to work.
Yeah. I have the same similar structure right now. So every Monday is my administrative day. I sit down, I meet with every team member, including marketing, sales, everybody. And then same thing. If during the week there's any issues, for the most part, especially when it comes to our probates. So, any straightforward probate administration for the most part, there's the forms you got to fill. There's the steps you got to take. It's just kind of filing the paperwork, going along with the case, and doing what needs to be done with the court. Now we have probate litigation. So they're obviously my associates, much more involved, drafting motions. I'm reviewing them. So there it's definitely, she's like, well, how about this? We have one now where I'm like, look, I don't want to file an answer. Let's file a motion to dismiss. Let's do this. And it's more of a strategic thing. She's doing the work, but I'm still very involved in reviewing it and in the day to day. So, but definitely, you need that. Some other, my paralegals are great. My associate is wonderful. I'm actually looking to hire another one if anyone has probate experience.
All right, if you're watching right now, there is a spot, there's a position. Go ahead.
But yeah, and then in the real estate department there, it does fall more on me. I don't have, so there I'm a little bit more involved. Even though my paralegal, again, is great, but still, anytime there's an issue that comes up, it falls on my lap, and I'm definitely more involved there. But yes, I want to get to a point where I'm definitely more from a bird's eye view, a strategic type of position, and I meet with the team maybe once a month. I'll meet with the heads of the department or once a week with the heads and once a month with the entire team, or set it up a certain, that way. So I'm not so in the daily grind of it.
Yeah. Tell me, some of the like areas of law that you guys do. I mean, like you have a very, very interesting background, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I wanted to talk really more about. We haven't talked about it at all.
Sure.
But like, how did you get into law, and when did you start? Because I know, like in high school, you were doing like you were doing acting and theater and stuff. So walk me through like your story of becoming a lawyer.
Okay. So when I was in high school, like most kids, you watch Law and Order and you see how this fantasy of attorneys, and then walk into the courtroom and like, you're just like, oh, that's what it's like to be a lawyer. No, it's not. But that's the idea I had. So I was like, I want to be an attorney. It seemed like such a prestigious career and stable, and, you make good money. And then in high school, I got very much into acting. And I was like, you know what? Nah, forget that. I want to be an actress. And I did a couple commercials. I did a couple of, theater productions in school, whatnot. And I only applied fun fact, when I went to apply for universities, I only applied to one school and one school only, which was NYU Tisch School of the Performing Arts, because that is where I wanted to go. And my parents, I'm Cuban, born here, but raised by very Cuban parents. It was very traditional. No, you're not leaving at 18. You're not leaving the house to go live in New York City. So at the end of the day, I kind of caved in to my parents. No. But I started working at a law firm. My cousin was a paralegal, still is a paralegal at a law firm. And she's like, hey, I could really use some help. Are you interested? So I remember going in and interviewing with my boss and telling him, I don't want to be a lawyer. Don't think you're going to make me be a lawyer. I'm a good worker. I'm responsible. I'll show up and I'll do a good job, but don't try to convert me. And he's like, I don't think your cousin wants this job. So I started working there, and it started off as, as a secretary and covering the phones and stuff, and kind of worked my way up, became the office manager. And then started working kind of in a legal secretary, but I wanted more of a law. And then by then I had given in. I said, okay, fine. I'm going to go to law school. I was in undergrad. I was at FIU. And I was like, you know what? I love acting, but I don't want to be a starving actress. I also like really good things and have, like to eat out, and I like expensive taste. So let me be a lawyer. And finished my undergrad at night at FIU. I would work all day during the day at the law firm. And then I went to school. I went to law school at Nova Southeastern, and I went to their night program. And I would work all day at a firm, drive up to Davie from Coral Gables, go to law school, come home at 10 o'clock at night, sit down, kind of do some homework. Every day I did that for 3.5 years while working at law firms, getting that experience and finishing law school. So, yeah.
I like, and it's thinking of like maybe a podcast or some video that I saw the other day, but like when you think about that like the 20s, right? Your 20s, and you talking about like working in a thing in Miami and then driving all the way up to law school. And that's an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours if there's traffic. Yeah. And then going back down at night.
Yep.
Like, and I did the same thing. Like I was school in Nova, but I was working at like clerking at a place down in like on Brickell. And it was like this nightmare of a drive. And I'd come back up at like 10 o'clock at night. But like, I think one of like the biggest tips for like people that are at that age is that's the time to grind, because you have the energy. How think about it. Like, could you imagine? Could you imagine now at like?
I look back, and even I look back, I'm like, how the heck did I do that?
Yeah, it's like it's like you're
exhausting.
You're like superhuman at that age. Like whatever it is with like the hormones and the testosterone and like whatever is going on through your like blood and brain, and you can do it, but like. That's the time, I think, because look at what the sacrifice does at that age. You know what I mean? Like, that's not the time to slow down. Like 20 to 30 is like, you should be working, really, it should be like 12, 13, 14-hour days, just cranking away, like with whatever goal you have, because you have that energy and that, and that drive and that, and usually like, for a lot of people, I don't want to say everyone, but like it's not like you don't have kids at that point. Maybe like the significant other is just getting started in that time frame. You don't have as many things tying you down.
Yes.
And then you're kind of getting distracted on things like other stuff that you really want to do later on.
Yes. I agree 100%. And my oldest actually just graduated from FIU Law. And actually caught us as surprise when he told us he wanted to go to law school, because I have 3 kids, and I've never impose that on them. I've never been like, oh, you need to be a lawyer like your mom. No, at all. If they want to, follow in my footsteps, absolutely. 100%. I'll support you. I'll guide you as much as, you let me and whatnot. But I've never forced that on my kids. So when he came to us and he was like, I think I want to go to law school. I was like, oh no. I was like, are you sure? You've seen everything I've gone through. He's like, yeah. So when he graduated from FIU and he passed the bar just now in July, I told him, now's the time. Try to get jobs. Explore. You want to try out family law? Go work at a law firm. You want to do PI? Go. Now's the time for you to test, dip your feet in, get an idea, work at big law if you want to. If you don't like it, great. But now's the time. Because once you do settle down, you do get married, you start to have kids, then it's a lot more difficult because you have responsibilities and you have other people depending on you. You can't just be quitting one job and getting another one, you know? So yeah, I definitely agree with you.
I don't know. Now I just had a vision. Now it's time for mom to hire son to take over.
I tried.
You know?
And we have an empty space at the office. We just moved our office and got new space. And I have an empty office. And I'm like, look, this could be yours.
It sounds pretty perfect.
He's
I mean,
like,
maybe have him train a little bit at another firm, get his feet wet, or
I want him
step
to.
in.
I want him to go out there, have other people as bosses, get that experience. Because I don't ever want him to feel either that any accolades or anything that he's accomplished is because of mom. It's because, oh, I rode your coattails or anything like that. No, I want him to feel comfortable and be able to stand on his own 2 feet. If he ends up liking and experiencing the type of law we do, and it's something that interests him, 100%. I've told him my door is always open. If you say, hey, I want to try out, probate or estate planning or real estate, by all means, if I have an opportunity, I will make that opportunity for you and you can try it out. But I don't ever want him to feel that pressure.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And feel like, oh, well, I can just kind of coast in and be like, oh yeah, well, we joke around. We're like, well, your name's already on the wall.
I know it's perfect. It's a perfect setup.
I'm like, it's perfect. We
when they
one
call in,
Nuñez for another.
Yeah, that's funny. It's almost like a dream of mine. Like for my kids, maybe one day, if they went to law school, to come work with me. I mean, I was thinking there's a guy, Alex Alvarez in Miami. I don't know if the Alvarez firm, and he's a great tobacco lawyer and medical malpractice lawyer. He's a good friend, and it was always nice to see like him and his sons, and his son and like his nephew and stuff, and it's like this family kind of thing, and they all they're working late together and they're handling tough cases and they're traveling together. There's like an excitement about that if there's family involved. But then again, it can. It just may like law is a stressful area. So I mean, my kids may not want.
One way, and that's how I felt when I brought on my husband. Even though we met working together, one of the first law firms that I worked at, he worked there as well. So we actually met working together 20-something years ago. Yeah. But bringing him back now to a firm that I had created, and it's my firm, is a little different versus working for someone else. But no, it's been great, and in the transition. But I get it, and I told him, like, look, no pressure. And when I was speaking to my oldest, I'm like, no pressure. If you don't want to work, I totally get it. Go out there, experience, kind of see what you like, test the difference. So he had clerked for a judge during one of his semesters of law school. He worked at an immigration law firm during another one. So he's just trying to see what he likes.
Yeah.